Hey makeup friends, today we're going to talk about the new palette from Patrick Ta. This is the Major Dimension palette. I'm also going to share my thoughts on the other products that I have from Patrick Ta, so let's get into this. As always, I want to start off by welcoming you back to my channel, or if you are new here, then hello and welcome. My name is Kara, and on my channel, we like to mix beauty, brains, and the occasional F-bomb. Now, the more astute amongst you might have realized that Penelope has not been sitting in the background there for a couple of videos. She's currently right here waiting on new batteries to arrive. She goes through them like nobody's business. So the 10-pack that I had ordered from Amazon a little while ago, they're already gone, so she's a hungry little beast. Gotta wait for new batteries to arrive. Anyways, what we're going to talk about today is Patrick Ta. So I did pick up the new eyeshadow palette from him. This is the Major Dimension palette, and I will show you what it looks like inside. Very neutral kind of palette, but frankly, that is right up my alley. So there is a mix of finishes in here. There are matte shadows, there are some mattes with some micro glitter in there, as well as some super foiled shadows. And then over here behind this little plastic cover here, there are two cream shadows. So you can see them there. I think that the inclusion of this little cover is so smart because as you're using this, the other shadows are not falling into that. And then also, hopefully, this will help with the longevity of these cream shadows. I do have the Huda Beauty new Nudes palette. That included one cream shadow. There was no cover for it. That cream shadow did become very hard over time and dried out completely. And also before it got all dry and crusty, the other shadows would transfer into it and just became a bit of a hot mess to deal with. So I just never reached for that shade. Whereas with this, with that little cover, I think that's going to be very helpful in the long run. Now, I have some other products from Patrick that I want to talk about before we do a deep dive into the palette. So I'm just going to scooch over here because I did film myself applying these products just so that you can see them in action. So this guy here is the Cream Contour and Powder Bronzer Duo in She's Statuesque. And again, you can see that it has that little plastic cover over the cream product. And I really like these products. The undertones are what really sell me on this because the contour, it is cool enough that it does create a very realistic looking shadow on my face, but it's not so cool that it pulls ashy. It doesn't look muddy on my skin or anything of that sort. And even though it is a cream product, which sometimes creams don't blend as nicely as powder, that is not the case here. These blend out beautifully. And then with respect to the bronzer, it helps to really warm my skin up without pulling too orange. It has like the perfect undertone for me to give me that sort of sun-kissed look without looking very obvious about it. And again, the blendability is there. And then for blush, I have the Duo here. This is in the shade Do We Know Her? So again, there is a cream product here with that little cover on it. And then you have a powder blush down here. Now I did have one of his single pan blushes back when they first came out, but it was too light for my skin. And although it was somewhat buildable, I can never really build it up to the point of actually being able to detect it on my skin. So I was a little concerned with this, that was going to happen again. However, these ones are far more pigmented than the single pan blushes were. The cream I have placed out in this area, and then I have the powder a little bit more central on my face because it is a bit lighter. Again, the blendability is there, and these are beautiful products to work with. It's the creams in these blush and bronzer duos that made me think that the creams in the eyeshadow palette probably wouldn't be a pain in the ass to work with, and we shall see in the application. Obviously, I know how they work, but I'm not going to spoil it yet. You'll have to watch just a little bit longer. And then lastly, before we move on to the eyeshadow, is this lipstick here, and I have it in the shade Oh She's Single. It is a matte finish lipstick, but it's incredibly comfortable to wear. It feels much more like a cream lipstick than it does when you traditionally think of a matte bullet lipstick. And it remains feeling creamy and comfortable on the lips for as long as you're wearing it. It doesn't get gummy, it doesn't sort of gather in all the little cracks and crevices in your lips. It's very comfortable to wear. I think it's a really pretty shade. He does have a very limited shade range in his lipstick, so I would like to see that expanded over time, but it's definitely a finish that I enjoy wearing. So that, of course, is going to bring us to the palette. Now, the palette retails for $87, and for that you're getting 12 shades. Like I said, there are a mixture of finishes in here, 2 creams, some mattes, some pearl toppers, or what I've considered to be sort of mattes with micro glitter in it, because that's what they look like, and then some very, very foiled shadows as well. So before we get into the actual application, let's do some swatches. All right, so I'm going to do these according to finish. So I'm just going to start off with the cream shadows. And because the names of the shades are on the bottom of the palette rather than printed underneath the actual shades, I am not going to read what the shade names are. Okay, so now we're going to go in with the mattes. And I should tell you that there is no primer on my arms. I've just swirled my finger through the pan a couple of times. And as you can see, I'm just dragging them a few times just to smooth out the pigment. Now I'm going to go in with the pearl toppers. These are very smooth. They look basically matte, but there is just a tiny bit of micro glitter in them. And then lastly, we have these foiled shadows. They are so beautiful. This is how I like my foiled shadows to be. Like, I want them to just catch the light and bounce it straight on back. Those are beautiful. All right, so she swatches beautifully. Now it's time to see how it applies to the eyes, but there is one more piece of information that I want to let you know, and that is that this palette is cruelty-free, vegan, and gluten-free as well. All right, let's move on to the eye look. So now it is time to do my eyes. I have primed them with the clean canvas base from Gerard Cosmetics, and then I just set that with a very, very light amount of powder. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go in with this lighter of the cream shades, and I'm going to just buff that all over the lid just to give us even more of a base. Now, most of the brushes that I'm going to use today are coming from What's Up Beauty. They were kind enough to send me their entire new launch. I am going to be doing a review on these, the palette, and the nail polishes that they sent me in a separate video, but for today I'm going to use these brushes just to put them to the test. I haven't used them before, but they are incredibly soft. They're made of goat hair. Some of them are a mix of goat hair and synthetic. Off the top of my head, I can't remember which ones exactly, but regardless, we're going to use these brushes today. But for buffing in the cream shade, I am going to use this bad boy here from Delium Tools. This is the 767 round blender, and it's just a really nice, densely packed brush, which I think is going to work well with the cream shadow. All right, so first impressions are that this blends so nicely. I wasn't sure what to expect, and I'm still not really sure what to expect in terms of the dry down time and all of that, but I clearly picked up too much product because this blends so nicely. Holy, that blends. You do not need a lot of this product, that's for sure. It'd also be a good one and done, but we're not done. I'm gonna hop over to the other eye, do the same thing, and then we're gonna play with some of these shadows. All right, so we've got that cream shade blended out over both eyes, and I've got to say, like, there's really no tackiness to it at all. I thought there might be because it's cream, but it's dried down, like completely dry. So that gives me good confidence going forward with the actual powder shadows that they're not just going to get stuck to this cream. So let's do that. I'm going to cover up those cream ones, and then we'll go in with this shade right here, and I'm going to blend that into the crease and up towards the brow bone. Now, next time I'm going to know just how blendable this cream shadow is, because my preference would have been to not have it in this area and to go in with this more light shade. I'm hoping that the powder will help to sort of lighten it up a bit, but that is not what is happening. These shadows are also very pigmented. And that is okay, we'll make it work. There are some lighter shades in here. It's just this that I'm applying now is the lightest matte shade, but there are some lighter options. They just happen to have a little bit of micro glitter in them. So having said that, even though it does have a little bit of sparkle in it, I am going to pick this shade up here. I'm just trying to create a little bit more lightness up towards where the brow bone is. All right, well, not quite getting the effect that I initially wanted, but we're gonna roll with it. Just means that we're gonna bring everything else a little bit deeper and a little bit more dramatic than I had intended on doing, but that's okay. We're playing, it's makeup, it's fine. It's going to be fine. All right, so for my crease then, I'm just gonna go over into this shade right here and pick that one up and put that into the crease. I just said that, so that's redundant. Anyways. Now I have said this before, but it bears repeating. I do have very hooded eyes. So when I talk about putting something into my crease, you can see where that fold is. I have to go like 3.5 miles above it in order for it to actually show up. So I do start and I take that as my sort of guide as to where I put my shadow, and then basically a full brush width ahead of that or on top of that is where I place my shadow. Because if I just put it where that line is, when I open my eyes and look straight forward with sort of a neutral expression, it just folds right up and you can't see any of that. So I have to blend it up a little bit. All right, I'm just going to continue to move across towards where the deeper shades are. This keeps flying open, and I'm going to use this shadow right here. I'm going to pick it up on a not quite flat brush, but a little bit flatter than I have been using. I'm going to start by placing that into the outer portion of my lid, just sort of pat it where I want it to be the most intense, and then blend from there. Again, I'm seeing this shadow blend really, really nicely. I'm not seeing any sort of patchiness developing. The pigmentation isn't just moving across the lid, it is blending out really nicely. And I feel like I can build this up even more. And indeed I can. Now before I move on to the other eye, I'm just going to go back to that first brush I was using. I'm not going to pick up anything on it, but I'm going to use that to help blend out the edges here. Just soften up those lines a bit. Now I want to see how the cream layers on top of the powder, so I'm going to go in with this really deep brown here and just put that on the very outer portion of my upper lid. I feel like that's laying down nicely. It's not moving the powder underneath it, and it is helping to just intensify that deepness over in that area. With what's left on the brush, I'm just going to run it under my lower lash line. God, it just keeps going. That's incredible. Like, what's on this brush did this entire eye, lined this, is still lining this, and there's still more to go. That is really impressive. I don't even really think I need to go in with this deep shadow, but I'm going to, just for the sake of saying that I did. So I'm going to pick it up on an even smaller tapered brush here and go in with that powdered shadow right there. I'm basically just going to place it exactly where I put that cream shadow and just, again, build up the depth and the dimension. I'm going to keep it fairly close to the actual crease, so when my eyes are open, you probably won't be able to see this shade, but as I blink, you'll see a little bit more dimension in terms of the eyes. But I am going to pick up just a little bit of this shade right here, and I'm going to use that to help blow out that lower lash line on the outer portion here. All right, now I do not have the kind of lid space where I can put all of these shimmers on in one shot. Like, there's no way I can make that work. So I gotta pick and choose. I think I can make 2 of them work on my lid. I can't put all like 5, but I think I can do 2. So we're gonna start off with this one here on the outer portion of my lids, and then I'm gonna put this towards the inner portion. And then inner corner is going to be this guy right over here. So I'm just going to pick it up dry and pat it into place, and then we'll see if it could stand to have a little bit of setting spray to help boost it. But I think she's doing pretty good on her own, to be honest. I'm gonna do a happy dance. I don't think that this needs any sort of setting spray whatsoever. It's not flaking down onto my cheeks, like there's no fallout whatsoever. You can see that it is catching the light really nicely. That is so pretty. I'm just going to build it up just a little bit to see what happens. I haven't felt it with my finger, but I can feel a little bit of almost like a creaminess to it while I'm applying it. Like it's not going on like a dry powder. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's applying more like a cream. I'm gonna have to feel it. Yeah, there's definitely something in there. It's not just like a loose powder that's just being pressed into the pan. Like it feels like there's more substance to it than that. Oh, she's beautiful. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm excited to try the other shade. I'm just gonna flip the brush over and pick that one up. And this feels the very same. Like it feels like there's a little bit of like a creaminess to it. We will see if that translates into a bunch of creasing or not. But for right now, it means that it's applying beautifully. Holy, okay. I am enjoying this so much. Look at that. Yeah, this definitely does not require any sort of setting spray at all. That is beautiful. And it's not crumbling in the pan or anything like that. With those mattes, there was a little bit of kick up in the pan, but nothing noteworthy. Hi, you're beautiful. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love this so much. That's a bold statement on first application, but oh my goodness, these shimmers are gorgeous. And again, these blend really nicely too. Like I can just keep moving it and placing it where I really want it to be. And everything is equally as sparkly. It's not like it's just leaving the sparkle there and then like the leftover pigment is moving around. Like the entire thing is just this beautiful reflective finish. Hi, you're beautiful. Love it. All right, and there is the final eye look done. I love these shadows. I really am impressed. So that's going to bring us to final thoughts then. And I want you to bear in mind, this is just a first impressions. This is the first time I've applied this to my eyes. But having said that, I am looking forward to playing with this some more. These are the kind of shades that I reach for on a day-to-day basis. And with this level of intensity with those shimmers, I can see this becoming a go-to palette for me because I just love the way it looks. I also love the blendability of the mattes and those cream shadows. I am very much interested in playing around some more with those creams and seeing how I can make them work for me. I'd love to see some other tutorials of people using this palette as well, just to see how they've used it. So I'm very curious about the creams. I'm glad there's only 2 in there, but I think they're a nice little addition. Like I said, with that first one that I put on, it could just be a one and done right there. And they don't have that like sticky feel to them, which is what I was concerned they would have. So in terms of cream shadows, they're very nice to work with. So I'm not upset about the inclusion of them at all. I was able to layer powders on top, layer powders underneath without any issues. So from a quality perspective, I think they are top notch. Now, in terms of the actual shade selection in here, the only thing that I would say is that I would like a lighter option. Now, I tend to shy away from just like pure bone colored or cream colored shadows, but in a palette like this, I think it would have been nice to have that as an option, or for there to be a little bit more distinction, I'll just open that up, between these 2 cream shadows. Maybe make this one a little bit lighter, this one a little bit deeper, just so that's a little bit more distinction between the 2, and that would just increase the versatility of a very neutral palette, if that makes sense. I think while this is beautiful as a one and done, it would have been nice to have it a couple of shades lighter so that it could actually work as an eyeshadow base and so that you could have that bit of contrast between them. Having said that though, I do like that there is this nice gradient, particularly along the matte shadows that are in here. I think it just helps you to create this really seamless transition between the shades. I obviously have a ton of shadows on my eyes right now. I tried to use as many as I could, and yet it really does look effortlessly blended. And that's largely to do with the shadows, not so much to do with my own skill. I think this is a very user-friendly palette in that you don't have to work really hard to blend it out, and the shades all work with each other. So you don't have to spend a ton of time trying to figure out how you're going to pair them or if something's going to look kind of weird paired with something else. None of these shades are going to be jarring against each other. There's no strong contrast between them. So I frankly love that, especially on those days where like you just want to get your makeup done and get out the door. You don't necessarily want to spend a ton of time thinking about it. This palette lends itself to that very nicely. Now with these shimmer shadows, I cannot find any complaints in them whatsoever. I like that they have that sort of creamy feel to it, and yet, I mean, 2 hours or so on and there's no creasing whatsoever. And frankly, I would think that if there was going to be creasing, you would have it by now. There is some transfer, but that's because I have hooded eyes, and that happens with every single shadow that I wear, every single one of them. So that is not a point of complaint at all. The reason I always mention that is simply because this might be your first time watching one of my videos and you might be wondering why there is shimmer way up here, and it's because this folds into here as I open my eyes, and it just happens. So I don't ever complain about that. I haven't noticed any fallout on my cheeks, either after application or during. This is just a really easy palette to work with, and I'm in love. When you have a palette collection as absurdly large as mine, it's hard for palettes to sort of float to the surface because I do try to rotate through them, not in any sort of planned out way, but I do try to think of like, what haven't I used in a while? Let's bring that out, give it some love, and then we'll put it back on the shelf. But sometimes there are palettes that do get put into heavy rotation just because I love them so much and because they're so easy to work with. I'm predicting that this is going to become one of those palettes. I love the application of it. I love the tones of it. I am so glad that I picked this up. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, I don't know about those cream shadows. I truly don't. But I think I'm actually going to get use out of them. I think the consistency of them, the formula of them, they blend for days. I've run out of superlatives. I'm in love with this palette. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? It's a first impression, but it is a very strong and very good first impression. So with all of that said, I'm going to wrap it up here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this palette. Is this something that's intrigued you? What do you think of the cream shadows? How would you use them? All of that good stuff, let me know in the comments below. But for now, thank you so much for taking the time to watch, and I will see you in my next one. Until then, just be a decent human being. Bye for now.